I'm Dora. Standing here in the grand hall of my manor, surrounded by the aftermath of chaos and the silent presence of the Christmas tree, I can't help but reflect on the events that led to this moment. The air is still, and the quiet I've longed for has finally returned. But it came at a price, a battle against the very people who were supposed to love me. Just a few hours ago, I witnessed my family's true colors as they tried to force their way into my home on Christmas Eve. The sound of the crowbar hitting the front lock still echoes in my ears, a harsh reminder of their greed and desperation. Logan, my younger brother, was the first to jump out of the rental truck, a crowbar in his hand and a wild look in his eyes. Behind him was my father, Robert, carrying a folder full of false documents, and my mother, Victoria, stepping out last in a perfectly tailored dark coat, her hair and makeup immaculate even in the midst of a crime. As they tried to break into my house, I watched from the shadows, my heart pounding with a mix of anger and determination. I had prepared for this moment, setting up a trap with the help of my attorney, Elena, and a team of witnesses. When the lights came up and they saw me standing at the foot of the staircase, their expressions of shock and disbelief were almost comical. But this wasn't a sudden turn of events. It was the culmination of years of neglect and abuse at the hands of my family. For as long as I can remember, I've been the forgotten child, the one who was always left out of family gatherings and celebrations. Christmas was no exception. Every year, I would drive for hours to be with them, only to be met with indifference and rejection. Last Christmas was the breaking point. I drove 5 hours through freezing rain, my trunk filled with expensive gifts, only to find the house full of warmth and laughter, with no place for me. That was the night I decided to take control of my life and buy myself a place where I could finally be at peace. I found the manor in a quiet Vermont town, hidden away from the world. It was an old stone house with iron gates and a sense of history that spoke to me. I bought it through a trust structure, making it difficult for anyone to trace it back to me. I thought that would be enough to keep my family away, but I was wrong. As soon as they found out about my new home, they came knocking on my door, not with apologies but with a plan to take it for themselves. They brought a locksmith and a forged agreement, trying to convince me that they were just looking out for my best interests. But I saw through their lies. I knew they were only interested in the money and the prestige that came with owning a historic manor. I refused to let them get away with it. I recorded everything, from the moment they arrived to the moment the police showed up. I gathered evidence of their fraud and conspiracy, and I was ready to fight for what was mine. With the help of Elena, I arranged a small Christmas Eve open house, inviting a group of respected witnesses to the manor. We waited in the dark, watching as my family tried to break in. When they finally succeeded, we were ready. The lights came up, and the police were waiting for them. One by one, they were arrested and taken away in handcuffs. Logan cried like a child, my mother kept asking for a private conversation, and my father looked stunned, as if he couldn't believe what was happening. But I felt no pity for them. They had brought this on themselves. As I stand here now, looking at the broken door and the mess they left behind, I realize that this was more than just a battle for a house. It was a battle for my dignity and my right to be treated with respect. I've learned that sometimes, the people who are supposed to love you the most are the ones who will hurt you the most. But I also learned that I have the strength to stand up for myself and fight for what I believe in. This Christmas, I finally feel like I've found my place in the world. I'm no longer the forgotten child, the one who was always left out. I'm a woman who has taken control of her life and created a home where she feels safe and loved. And I know that from now on, Christmas will be a time of celebration and joy, not a time of pain and disappointment. Looking back, I can see how my family's actions were a result of their own insecurities and greed. They were jealous of my success and my independence, and they couldn't stand the thought of me having something that they didn't. But I refused to let their negativity define me. I'm going to focus on the positive, on the new friends and experiences that I've gained since moving to the manor. I remember the first night I arrived at the manor, standing in the front hall and listening to the quiet. It was a feeling of peace and tranquility that I had never experienced before. I walked through every room, trailing my fingertips over the old wood and cold stone, and I let myself imagine a Christmas that belonged to me. I lit the library fireplace, opened a bottle of Cabernet, and sat in a leather chair, watching the flames dance. For the first time in my life, I felt safe. But I knew that peace wouldn't last. I could sense that my family was watching me, waiting for the right moment to strike. So I took precautions. I changed my number, locked down my accounts, and stopped leaving any digital fingerprints that could lead them back to me. I also built a plan, a strategy to protect myself and my home. When my family finally showed up at my gate, I was ready. I didn't panic or get angry. I stayed calm and focused, using my phone to record everything. I knew that the evidence I gathered would be crucial in proving my case. As the events of that night unfolded, I couldn't help but feel a sense of satisfaction. I had outsmarted my family, and I had shown them that I was not someone to be underestimated. I had also learned that sometimes, the best way to protect yourself is to be prepared. In the days that followed, the local story spread like wildfire. People were shocked and appalled by my family's actions, and they began to see me in a different light. Logan's business partnerships disappeared, and his online accounts were suspended. My father had to spend the start of the new year paying attorneys, and my mother was forced to face the truth about her own actions. But for me, the most important thing was the lesson I learned. I learned that boundaries are important, and that it's okay to say no to the people who try to take advantage of you. I also learned that family doesn't always mean blood, and that sometimes, the people who are not related to you by blood can be more supportive and loving than your own family. As I sit here, sipping my wine and looking at the Christmas tree, I feel a sense of gratitude. Gratitude for the friends and allies who stood by me, for the strength and courage that I found within myself, and for the opportunity to start a new chapter in my life. This Christmas, I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by love and support, and I know that the future is bright.